Wife caught in the act and regrets it. Hey, true story. My name is Alan, and I'm 32 years old. I've been watching your channel for a long time now, and I've heard story after story of men who've been betrayed by the very women they trusted the most. For a while, I listened almost like it was a background noise, thinking to myself, that'll never be me. I thought I had chosen wisely, that I had built a life on faith, patience, and love. But here I am, writing into your channel with a story of my own. I never thought I'd be in this position, but sometimes life hits you in a way you didn't see coming. My ex-wife cheated on me, and the way I found out about it is something I still can't wrap my head around completely. Let me back up, though, and tell you how this all started, because without the full context of how we met, what we built, and how much faith I had in her, I don't think the sting of betrayal will really come across. I met my now ex-wife at church. We were both 26 at the time, and it felt like one of those meant-to-be type situations. Both of us had grown up in church. Both of us had family who believed in raising us with good values, and both of us thought marriage was something sacred. That foundation alone made me think I had nothing to worry about. She was this bubbly, social, friendly type of woman who could talk to anybody. Meanwhile, I've always been more of a straightforward, hard-working type of guy. I was deep into my apprenticeship at the time and also going to school at night for welding. My schedule was brutal. Early mornings, long work days, then late nights hitting the books and training in the shop. But I was focused. I had a plan. I knew what I wanted for my career, and I was willing to grind for it. She, on the other hand, wasn't really sure what direction she wanted to take in her career. She would often say things like, I just need to figure out what I'm passionate about, or I'll know when the time is right. She never had the same level of certainty I had about welding, but I respected that. Not everyone knows exactly what they want at 26. What I admired about her, though, was that she always worked. She never just sat around. At the time, she was working at the hospital cafeteria, and it seemed like she genuinely enjoyed it. She liked being around people, and she was good at her job. What drew me to her even more was that she seemed supportive of me. She knew I was working long hours, and she would tell me she admired my determination. I thought we were balancing each other out, me with my focused grind, and her with her lighthearted, flexible nature. Our relationship and marriage. We dated for about 2 years before getting married at 28. By that time, I felt like I knew her well. We had gone through ups and downs like any couple, but nothing major. No red flags, no serious fights, nothing that made me think, this is a bad idea. If anything, I thought we had one of those healthy relationships people talk about. When I proposed, she cried. She said she couldn't wait to start a family with me, and she told me she felt like God had sent me to her. That hit me deep because faith is something I take seriously. When we got married, I felt like I was doing everything the right way. Building a career, finding a good woman, putting God at the center of our relationship, and planning for the future. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. Welding isn't glamorous to most people, but it's an honest trade, and it pays well enough if you stick with it. My plan was simple: work hard, save money, buy a house, start a family, and provide stability. She said she was on board with all of that. The build-up to betrayal. Now here's where things started to shift, but at the time, I didn't think much of it. Looking back, I can see the cracks that I ignored. She started spending more time at work functions. Her job at the hospital cafeteria wasn't anything wild, but it kept her around a lot of different people: nurses, doctors, janitors, techs, and other cafeteria staff. She'd come home talking about how fun her coworkers were, how they would joke around during shifts, and how everyone was like one big family. I never thought anything of it because I trusted her. If anything, I thought it was good she had that sense of community since my schedule was still crazy at the time. I was either working, studying, or exhausted, so I couldn't always be the most fun husband. But she seemed happy, and I thought that was enough. Then, out of nowhere, came the day that flipped everything upside down. The phone call. I got a call from my buddy who also worked at the hospital. He wasn't just some guy I barely knew. This was someone I considered a friend. He sounded uneasy when he called me, and that alone made me pay attention. He said, "Alan, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I just saw your wife give some guy her number." It was like the world stopped for a second. I felt this rush of heat, like my whole body was on fire. At first, I almost wanted to laugh it off because it didn't make sense. My wife, the woman who said, "God brought us together," the woman I thought I could trust completely, but I could tell from the tone of his voice that he wasn't playing. I didn't call or text her right away. I sat there in silence, staring at my phone, trying to process what I just heard. A part of me wanted to rush down to the hospital and confront her in the middle of her shift, but another part of me thought, no, wait and see what she does. The text that confirmed it. Not even 30 minutes later, I get a text from her. "Hey, love, my mom needs me tonight. I'm going to stay there and be home in the morning." When I read that, my stomach dropped. My wife almost never stayed at her mom's. If she did, it was for a very specific reason, and she usually let me know ahead of time. The timing of it all, the phone call from my friend, and then this sudden, "I'm staying at my mom's," it lined up too perfectly. I didn't argue. I didn't press her. I just texted back, "Okay, see you tomorrow." But deep down, I already knew she was up to no good. My gut screamed at me that she wasn't with her mom, linking up with my friend. I called up my buddy again and told him what she had texted me. He said, "Alan, I don't think she's at her mom's. She's with that guy. I know where he lives. Everybody does. He's always inviting people over to show off his townhouse." That was it. I told him to come get me. I wasn't about to just sit at home and wonder. We drove over together, both quiet in the car, both knowing what we were about to walk into, but not saying it out loud. The whole ride there, my mind was racing. I thought about our wedding day. I thought about how hard I had worked for us. I thought about all the nights I had stayed up studying, telling myself it was for our future. I thought about every moment I defended her, every time I bragged about how lucky I was. And now, here I was, on the way to another man's house to catch my wife. To be continued. That's where I'll leave it for now, true story. I don't want to make this too long in one go, but in my follow-up, I'll tell you exactly what happened when we got to the townhouse, how I caught my wife cheating, the fallout that followed, the divorce, and what it's been like rebuilding my life after a wayward spouse. Follow-up, I caught my wife cheating, and the fallout. Hey, true story, it's Alan again. I told you in my last email I'd come back with the continuation of my story. What happened the night I drove with my friend to that townhouse, how I confronted my wife, the divorce, and what life's been like since then. This is going to be long, but I want to lay it all out because I think too many men don't realize how deep betrayal cuts until it happens to them. Maybe someone listening will see the signs earlier than I did, or maybe it'll just help another man not feel so alone in this. Pulling up to the townhouse. The drive to that townhouse felt like the longest 15 minutes of my life. My buddy was driving, and both of us were just sitting in silence. I had so many thoughts running through my head I could barely form words. Part of me still wanted to believe maybe it wasn't true. Maybe she really was at her mom's, and maybe this was all one big misunderstanding. But deep down, my gut already knew. A man's intuition is strong, especially when it comes to the woman he's married to. You know when something's off. We pulled up to the townhouse, and right away I noticed her car parked outside. That was the first dagger to the chest. My wife's car sitting right there in front of some other man's place. I didn't need to see anything else. but I knew I had to. I needed that closure. I needed the truth I could never unsee, because otherwise she'd lie and spin this whole thing. The walk to the door. We got out of the car, and I swear my legs felt like they weighed 100 pounds each. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I wasn't sure what I was going to do when that door opened. Scream, cry, throw hands, or just collapse. We knocked. No answer at first. Then we knocked again. Harder this time. A few seconds later, the door opened, and there she was, my wife, standing there in some pajamas I had never seen before, holding a drink in her hand, looking like a deer caught in headlights. Behind her, I could see the guy, standing there shirtless, trying to play it cool. He gave me this smirk, like he thought he had won something. That image is burned into my brain forever. The confrontation. I didn't explode like I thought I would. I just stood there staring at her, waiting for her to say something. And you know what she said? Not, "I'm sorry," not, "I messed up," not even, "This isn't what it looks like." She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Alan, what are you doing here?" Like I was the one out of line. Like I was the one who needed to explain myself. That flipped a switch in me. I said, "What am I doing here? What the hell are you doing here? You told me you were at your mom's." She started stuttering, trying to come up with something, but at that point, the lie was dead. My friend, who had come with me, backed me up and told her we saw her car. There was no escaping it. The guy in the background finally spoke up, saying, "Man, she's a grown woman. She can do what she wants." That right there almost set me off, but I kept my cool. I told him, "You can have her. She's not my wife anymore." I turned back to her and said, "You destroyed everything we had for this? For some fling with a guy from work?" She started crying then, begging me not to make a scene, telling me we could talk about it later. But the thing is, she had already made her choice. Leaving that night. I didn't stay there to argue. I didn't want to give either of them the satisfaction of seeing me break down. I just left. My buddy drove me back home, and the whole way there, I was numb. Not angry, not sad, just empty. I sat on my couch that night staring at the wall until the sun came up. My phone buzzed a few times with texts from her, long messages about how it wasn't what I thought, and how she was confused and needed space. I didn't even reply. The days after. She came home 2 days later, acting like she wanted to talk things through. She said she made a mistake, that she was sorry, that she didn't mean for things to go that far. She tried to spin it like it was just emotional and that she hadn't actually done anything physical yet. But come on, we all know what was going on in that townhouse. I told her flat out, "We're done. You lied to me, you betrayed me, and you disrespected our marriage." She tried every angle, crying, yelling, blaming me for working too much, saying she felt lonely, even trying to say I wasn't there for her emotionally. I shut all of it down. I wasn't perfect, but I gave her everything I could. I was busting my ass to build us a future, and she decided her way of dealing with her boredom was to cheat. Filing for divorce. Within a week, I filed for divorce. That was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, but also the clearest. Once trust is gone, it's gone. There's no rebuilding it with someone who's willing to lie to your face while sleeping with another man behind your back. The process wasn't easy. She fought it at first, saying she didn't want a divorce, that she wanted to work on things. Then, when she realized I was serious, she turned spiteful. She tried to get more out of the divorce than she deserved, even though we didn't have kids or much property. It was all about her pride at that point. But in the end, I walked away free. No alimony, no kids to tie me to her, no house to split, just a clean break. The aftermath and healing. I won't lie to you, true story. The months after the divorce were brutal. I went through every emotion you can imagine. Anger, sadness, confusion, bitterness. I questioned myself. Was I not good enough? Did I miss signs earlier? Did I waste my 20s on the wrong person? But slowly, I started to heal. I focused on my work. Welding became my therapy. Every time I struck an arc, it was like I was burning off some of that pain. I started hitting the gym too, channeling all that anger into lifting. And I leaned on my faith. I prayed a lot even when I didn't feel like it. One thing I realized is that betrayal teaches you how strong you really are. You don't think you can survive something like that until you have to, and then you do. Lessons learned. Here's what I've taken away from all this. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Actions matter more than words. My wife always said the right things, but her actions showed who she really was. Don't ignore red flags. I brushed off her work-family stories, but looking back, she was spending more time with them than with me. Self-respect comes first. Once someone disrespects you on that level, you can't stay and beg for scraps. You have to walk away. Moving forward. Now at 32, I'm focused on myself. I'm not rushing into dating again. I'm rebuilding my confidence, my peace, and my future. I've got a good job, good friends, and I know I'll be okay. Betrayal hurt me, but it didn't break me. If anything, it made me sharper, stronger, and more aware. I'll close this out by saying to any guy listening, if your woman shows you who she really is, believe her. Don't waste years trying to fix someone who doesn't respect you. Walk away and save yourself. Thanks for letting me share. True story. Writing this out has been its own kind of therapy. Take care. I'm back once again. This is part 3, where I'll tell you about what life has been like after the divorce, what I've learned about myself, my attempts at moving forward, and of course, how my ex tried crawling back once reality finally smacked her in the face. Picking up the pieces. When the divorce papers were finalized, I thought I'd feel instant freedom. And in some ways, I did. There's something about closing the book on betrayal that gives you a sense of peace. But let me be real, it wasn't like I walked away whistling and smiling the next day. The silence in the house hit me hardest. After years of living with someone, suddenly coming home to nothing but your own thoughts is tough. I'd hear a door creak or a cabinet shut and expect her to be there, only to remember she wasn't. Even after what she did, my brain was still wired to her presence. That hurt more than I expected. So, I built myself a new routine. I doubled down on work. Welding has always been my bread and butter, but I started treating it like an art form. I'd sign up for extra shifts, take on side projects, anything to keep myself busy. When I wasn't working, I was at the gym. That became my sanctuary. At first, it wasn't about getting fit. It was about survival. I needed somewhere to channel the anger and sadness. But after a while, I started seeing changes in the mirror. More muscle, less fat, sharper features. People at work started making comments like, "Alan, you're looking solid, man." That boosted me more than I thought it would. Reflection and growth. One thing about betrayal, it forces you to reflect on everything. I spent months replaying our relationship in my head, asking myself where things went wrong. The truth. I realized I had put her on a pedestal. I thought because we met at church, because she said the right things, because she came from a good family, that she was incapable of betrayal. I ignored the fact that she was always restless, always unsure about her path in life. I assumed my stability would balance out her uncertainty. What I've learned is you can't save someone from themselves. You can love them, support them, and sacrifice for them. But if they don't have loyalty in their heart, nothing you do will matter. That was a hard pill to swallow, but it freed me too. Dating again. After about a year of being single, some friends started encouraging me to date again. At first, I wanted no part of it. I didn't trust anyone, and the idea of opening my heart again felt insane. But eventually I dipped my toes in the water. I downloaded a couple of dating apps, went on a few casual dates. Some were fine, some were disasters. I met one woman who spent the entire dinner talking about her ex-husband and how all men were trash. I met another who seemed great until she asked me within the first week how much money I made. Then I met one woman I actually liked. She was kind, funny, and seemed genuine. We dated for about 3 months, but I realized pretty quickly that I wasn't ready. Anytime she was late to call or slow to respond, my mind went straight back to betrayal. I kept expecting her to stab me in the back like my ex did. That wasn't fair to her, so I ended it. Right now, I'm not rushing. I know I'll meet someone again when the time is right, but for now, I'm focused on me. My ex crawling back. Here's the part I know people will be interested in. My ex trying to crawl back. About 1.5 years after our divorce, she started reaching out again. At first, it was small things, liking my posts on social media, sending the occasional, "Hey, how are you?" text. I ignored most of it. Then one day, she called me out of the blue. Against my better judgment, I picked up. She started crying almost immediately. She told me things hadn't worked out with the guy she cheated on me with. Apparently, he had a reputation for bouncing around from woman to woman, and once he got bored of her, he moved on. She admitted she thought the grass was greener, but it wasn't. She said, "Alan, I didn't realize how good I had it with you until I lost it." She went on about how she missed my stability, my work ethic, how safe she felt with me. She even said she'd been seeing a therapist who told her she made a huge mistake. I let her talk, but when she was done, I told her the truth. You destroyed the marriage when you cheated. I don't care what excuses you have or how much you claim to regret it. I'm never going back. She begged. She said she'd do whatever it took to prove herself. She offered to go to counseling, to rebuild from scratch. But here's the thing. I wasn't the same Alan she betrayed. I had grown. I had rebuilt my life without her. Letting her back in would have been like tearing down everything I'd built just to stand in the rubble again. So I told her no. Plain and simple. Her reaction. She didn't take it well. At first she cried and said she understood. Then she got angry. She accused me of being cold and heartless. She said, "So you're just going to throw away years of marriage like it meant nothing." That was rich, considering she was the one who threw it away first. I told her, "You made your choice the night you walked into that townhouse. I made mine when I filed for divorce. This chapter is over." After that, she stopped reaching out for a while. Then I heard from mutual friends that she had been bad-mouthing me, saying I never really loved her because I wouldn't take her back. That made me laugh. The truth is, I loved her more than she ever deserved. But once loyalty is broken, love can't survive. Living free. Today I feel lighter than I ever thought I would. I've got my own place, my finances are solid, and my health is better than ever. I'm not walking around bitter or angry anymore. If anything, I'm grateful. Grateful that I found out who she really was before we had kids. Grateful that I had the strength to walk away. Grateful that I've been given a second chance at life, one where I get to choose peace over chaos. Do I still think about it sometimes? Of course. Betrayal leaves scars, but those scars remind me of how far I've come. Advice to other men. If I can leave anything with the men listening, it's this. Don't ignore red flags just because you want the fairy tale. Never sacrifice your self-respect to keep someone who doesn't value you. Walking away hurts, but staying with a cheater will destroy you. Focus on building yourself up, physically, financially, emotionally. That's the best revenge. Closing thoughts. True story. I want to thank you again for giving men like me a platform. Too often, men are told to suck it up and keep silent when they're betrayed. But stories like these need to be told. Because the truth is, there are countless Allens out there. Men who worked hard, gave their best, and still got stabbed in the back. But here's the other truth. Betrayal isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. One where you can rebuild, refocus, and rise stronger than you ever thought possible. That's where I'm at today. And honestly, I wouldn't trade this version of myself for the man I was before. Take care.